Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come and meet with me. As a financial counselor here at this company, one of my biggest goals is making sure that people can make their dreams come true and that money is not the limiting factor. And so essentially here, I understand that you are a junior in high school and that you're planning on attending college. And I just wanted to begin by commending you for coming in and already taking this responsibility, because a lot of people your age don't really realize that college comes with so many expenses. So the fact that you're already here just shows that you're truly committed to achieving this goal. And so I also understand that you have a part-time job and you're receiving small allowances, and I'll go into how that will break into a personal spending plan later. And so I actually did come from a middle-class family, and so I learned early on how to track my expenses and make sure that I come up with a personal spending plan so that all my goals are met. And I want to do the same thing here with you today. And so the first thing that I will do is discuss the components of a personal spending plan. I will compare the advantages and disadvantages of saving for financial goals, and I'll also assess how spending priorities reflect our goals and values. And so just to begin with, to give you an idea of the terms that I'll be using, income is how much you are earning. And so this could be in the form of wages. When you grow older, you may start receiving salaries, and you could also get dividends from investments such as stocks and mutual funds. Here you, based on the document that I registered from your client plan, I noticed that you are receiving $10 an hour and making $150 from your part-time job, and then you're also getting babysitting and allowance money. And so in total, you're making $700 a month. And I want to say congratulations for making such a hefty amount at such a young age as well. And then expenses are the amount of money that you're spending. And so these could come in both fixed and variable expenses. And so fixed expenses stay the same, and a lot of these expenses you may not be paying now because your parents are covering them for you. And so this would be like rent or premiums for your insurances besides the automobile insurance premiums you're already paying. And then we also have variable expenses. And so in your personal spending plan, you would actually set aside a certain amount of money that you want to roughly spend each month. And so this is just a ballpark target, because obviously you won't be spending the same amount of money on clothing and food every month. And so what is left of your income after you spend it on expenses is called our discretionary income. And so this is what we use to figure out what we want to do with it. And so this would go into both saving, and it could also go into entertainment. And so with your suggested college goal, I do believe that you should set aside $570 as savings, and then use $100 for other saving stuff that you want to look into. Because you are making $700 a month, you're spending $130 of it, so you're left with $570. And so you want to figure out exactly how you're going to break that up into. And so if you put it aside for college savings, then you'll have a hefty amount of money that you're saving every month. Additionally, this is what we call a pay yourself first strategy. So you're paying yourself first by setting aside money to save. And I also actually did have a client who came in with no personal spending plan, and she had absolutely no idea how much income that she was actually bringing in and how many expenses she was actually spending. And she was actually spending more than she was actually bringing in, and she had no idea about that until I sat down and made a personal spending plan with her. This is not your situation, but by figuring out exactly what expenses you're looking at, you'll be able to make sure that something like that doesn't happen in the future, and you do have enough money for college. And spending plans could go into spreadsheets, calendars, and also with digitalized technology, we can also look at mobile apps as well for personal spending plans. So in terms of advantages and disadvantages for saving for financial goals, the most common disadvantage, the most obvious one, is the fact that you're not actively spending that money. And so for that reason, you're not getting short-term happiness. So at that moment, your friends might be splurging on items, but you yourself cannot, because you're setting aside that money for other stuff. Additionally, that money is not really gaining value because you're not putting it in investment accounts. But the advantages do outweigh the disadvantages, because you now, later in life, have more freedom to accomplish your goals. You also, if something does happen, you have that ability to fall back on money that you have set aside. And you may not know this, but there are high-yield savings accounts and other accounts where you can put in your money and generate a little bit of interest, so it's not losing value, it's actually gaining value. And in terms of how our spending priorities reflect your goals and values, because you want to prioritize college and that's your number one goal, too much spending would make sure that you might not even be able to consider college as an option, and that might hinder your job opportunities. And with college comes a lot of different expenses. So, for example, transportation, the yearly tuition, food, boarding, also the books that you might have to pay. And these are a lot of expenses, and your parents cannot possibly pay it all. You also have to contribute. So my first step that I would suggest is that you sit down and talk to your parents and figure out exactly how much they want to contribute and how much you will contribute. You might want to look into trying to figure out different ways to get more money, or also looking at different colleges just to figure out exactly what median income that you're looking at. Also researching different loans or different scholarships if you're looking at government loans or private loans, just to figure out exactly how you're going to pay for your college and trying to reduce that college tuition as much as possible. In terms of you wanting to also spend money for entertainment, clothing, and dining out with friends, I do encourage that, because you're at a stage in life where you're probably spending a lot of your time studying and trying to get into the college of your choosing. So you need to have money to be able to do fun stuff with your friends. But we also have to realize that there are a lot of cheaper alternatives to do stuff with your friends. So for example, if you want to go to watch a movie at a theater, you could also just as easily watch a movie at your house. If you want to dine out and spend like $70 on a meal, that could quite easily be countered if you just sit down and maybe have a picnic outside, which is not as much money as you would spending at a restaurant. So just sitting down and looking at if you really need to spend your money on certain things, or if you really, if you can in a way try to find a cheaper alternative for them, you will find that you're actually decreasing your expenses, you're setting aside money from college, and everyone is happy in the situation. And as you grow older, your plan will change. The personal spending plan that you create now will not stay the same when you are starting a family, or when you might start to look to buy your own house. Or even I have clients now who come in who are looking for retirement, and they're trying to figure out what approaches that they could do to maximize the amount of money that they'll have after they retire and they no longer have a steady income. And so I hope that what I talked about today really helped you and helped you figure out exactly how you want to go about things. Just as a refresher, I discussed the components of a personal spending plan. I compared the advantages and disadvantages of saving for financial goals. And I also assessed how our priorities reflect our goals and values. If you do have any more questions, here's my business card. I'd be more than happy to answer them. And also, I do have I'm more than happy to answer your questions.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Now, I do have one question. What values am I projecting to my family and my peers by developing a personal spending plan?
So, in today's society, we have to realize that not everyone has the expenses to be able to successfully live life. And a lot of people are not making a lot of income. And so by doing this, you're showing to both your family and friends that you have the responsibility to set aside your money, to figure out exactly what decisions you want to make sure that you're maximizing the amount of income that you're bringing in. And you're showing your friends who we also might want to go to college, or your parents who are trying to figure out if you're actually serious about the money that they're spending to allow you to go to college. Because as you transition from this high school stage to college, you'll realize that in college you're going to be financially independent. And if they put a lot of money into you now, and they for example, pay 3/4 of your college expenses, they may not, by doing this personal spending plan now, they trust that when you actually go to college, that you'll be able to account for your food, that you'll be able to account for your transportation, and maybe for boarding as well. So they just know that you are actually taking your education and finances seriously. In terms of your friends, they too will also maybe be inspired to follow along with your decisions. And so as I talked about earlier, with friends, the cheaper alternatives, it wouldn't just help you, it would help them to save money.
Great. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, thank you. I do have a list of scholarships and loans that I do suggest that you look at in your spare time, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions if you do have any questions about that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.